When you click Create in Scratch, you're going to automatically have Scratch the cat, who is your default sprite. But if you would like to add an additional sprite, you're going to come down here to the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and you can choose 4 different ways to get a sprite. You can choose a sprite from the sprite library. They have a lot of them for you to choose from. You could paint your own. You could get a surprise sprite, which is a random choice from the library, or you could upload your own from a different file. I'm going to go to the sprite library and choose one. I'm going to choose the ballerina. So now I have the ballerina. If you have a sprite that you no longer want, then you can go in and on that selected sprite right down here where the sprites are listed, you can choose the X and it will delete that current sprite. Setting a starting location will help you to have your sprite or your character show up or respawn back in the same location where you would like them to start every single time that you replay your animation. And so let's learn how to set a starting location. Scratch the Cat, for example, when you hit create and you start a new file in Scratch, he will always respawn, or he always starts at X0, Y0, which is right here below the stage area. So it always tells you what your current XY location is. He always starts at X0, Y0. But if I don't want him starting at that location, then simply take your sprite and drag them to the location on the screen where you want them to start. And you'll notice that his XY location changed. I can come over here to the motion category and I can grab a go to XY. You'll notice that the numbers that are in my go to XY are the same numbers that are down here in his current location. And that's because I drug him to that point before I brought in the code block, the go to XY code block. And if you put them in the location that you want them first before you grab the block, it will auto set those plot points into your block for you. On our last slide, we set up a starting location for Scratch the Cat. And so this particular slide, we want to talk about setting a starting costume. And costumes are just a variation or a different way that that particular character can look. So if we come up here to the Costumes tab in the upper left, you'll notice that Scratch comes preloaded with 2 costumes. He has straight legs in one, and he has bent legs in the other. And so you can choose from those costumes that are preloaded, or you can also come down to the bottom of the Costumes tab and you can choose to add additional costumes. You can choose from the costume library, paint one, get a surprise one, upload a costume, or use the camera on your computer. Either way, to set a starting costume, you'll want to pick which one that you want to use. I'm going to use costume 1 here because that's how I want his legs to look. So I'm going to go back to the code and I'm going to go to the looks category. I'm going to choose switch costume to block and I'm going to put it underneath of my go to XY. Make sure that I'm in costume 1. If I needed a different costume, I could drop that down and choose a different costume. So now I have my starting location and my starting costume set. To change costumes, there's 2 ways that you can go about coding your character or your sprite to change costumes. You can use the switch costume command whenever you need them to switch costumes, or you could use the next costume command if you would like them to kind of roll through each costume as you have it created. But what if you need your character to be able to face both directions? Let's say that you want your character to walk across the screen to the right, and then you want them to turn around to walk across the screen to the left. So let's talk about how you can make that happen. I'm going to take costume 1, and I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm going to choose duplicate. Notice now I have 2 identical costumes here, but one is named costume 1, one is named costume 3 because I already had a costume 2. I can go into costume 3 here. I can come over to flip horizontal or flip vertical and be able to turn that character to face the other way. So now I have a costume that I can code in to make that character go the opposite direction if I need to. And remember, costume changes are just a different way that that character looks. I'm going to go ahead and click on this set of code here so that it resets my cat to be facing the way that I want him to be facing.